I ran into a guy that I had a previous altercation with. He ended up seeing me as I'm walking up the steps. He comes walking down. He swung at me. Now, mind you, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm really, really drunk at that point. We started tussling outside. I had some friends there with me. He had some friends with him, and it was like a big free for all. I had stumbled upon a knife. I don't know where I got it from, but ended up stabbing him. And when I realized I did, I said, "Oh shit, I got to get out of here." I run away, and I see one of my friends fighting one of his friends. I stabbed him as well, and I fled off.
Welcome back to the Invest in Yourself podcast. Today I'm joined by Frank Benton, who was once charged with attempted murder charges. A night out at the bar turns into a terrible life-changing event for Frank. When it came down to serving time in prison, he did 5 years in prison. After he got out of prison, he's been doing a lot of great things, including starting his own business. He's got quite the redemption story. Please subscribe to my channel for more interviews like this, and without further ado, let's get into Frank's story. Good morning, Frank. Thank you for coming on my podcast today, man.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you got a really good redemption story, man. You've been through a lot and you really changed your life around, and it's really cool to see people like you out here really doing a whole reinvention of themselves and giving motivation and spreading their word that change is possible, man. But it has to start somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big advocate for second chances, obviously, because I had seconds and thirds and fourths myself. But just show the possibility is out there for somebody that's in a tough situation or that doesn't have the best resources or upbringing, that it's possible to, turn their life around and do something positive with it.
Oh, it's true, and it gives more perspective on that, like for what you've been through growing up and the things that you were involved with, and to be able to change your life around. Like it gives like, okay, well, if this guy's out here doing it, I could probably do it too. It just takes the will and want to change, man. So, give the people a little background of your early life and your upbringing, and we'll get into your whole life out on the street and then changing it around.
So I am from Philadelphia. I am the second oldest of 8 children. My mom had eight, two adopted, and then six of her biological. From Philadelphia, tough part called Kensington. Um, we grew up there for probably into my early teen years. Then we moved to the next town over, which was a little bit better, little less crime, but still had its ups and downs in that section as well. Uh, was defined as a child, no father figure, no real male role model in my life. So at a young age, I just kind of did what I wanted to do. Didn't listen to teachers. Didn't listen to my mom. Wasn't really like a horrible kid. Didn't get in too many fights growing up, but just being defined and no structure. My mom couldn't give all 8 kids her attention, so she did the best she could with what she had and the time she had. And then as time went on, I'm a teenager now. Start smoking weed, selling weed, hanging on the corners, just throwing snowballs at cars, knock zoom zoom, all the stuff the inner city kids do as a troubled teen. Just getting suspended from school, I started fighting a little bit more. Um, I got hit by a car when I was like 13, which I ended
Did
up
you
getting a lawsuit for. God,
did you get hurt pretty bad during that, or?
yeah, when I got hit by a car, it broke my tibia and fibula. So I had to get a metal plate put in my leg. The guy like went around a bus, and I ended up having a lawsuit against the insurance company, which that happened when I was like 12 or 13, and then when I was 18, I got the money. But I dropped out of school at 16,
Oh,
anticipating getting that money like it was going to be life changing, when it wasn't as much as I thought.
Tim, how much do you think you were gonna give?
I thought I was going to get like a quarter million. And this was 20 years ago, right? So a
Yeah,
quarter million then. Right now it's just that could buy you a house, but back then it's like, damn, a quarter million. Here I only ended up getting like 23,000 or something. And
damn.
when that time came, when I got it, it was like already spent before it was even here. So
What
I was good.
what were you planning on doing with the money, or what did you think you were gonna do?
So when I first found out, I was like 14, 15 when I found out I was going to get the money, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna reinvest it. I'm gonna buy a property or buy a corner store. And as time got closer, I'm 15, 16, 17. I'm starting to sell weed. I'm in the streets a little bit. So the money had to different destination at that time, which ultimately went to buying product and selling it and buying clothes and buying a car and none of the money. And I had dropped out of school in 10th grade. So I had no education or knowledge to even what to do with it. But,
What was
you live
the
and you learn.
what was the reason that you had dropped out of school?
Because I knew I was getting that money. Well, my 16, 17, like you're either going to hang out with the crowd that's going to make it to 12th grade, graduate, possibly college, or you're going to hang out with the kids that are dropping out. So I'm not blaming anyone else for me dropping out. It was ultimately my decision, but it was just like you're either doing one or the other. And obviously I picked, dropping out of school and entertaining the street life and running around, not with no purpose or goals.
So even at that young age, you already knew that you wanted to be in the street life and just leave school and just go full time in the streets as long as you could.
Um, it wasn't like a conscious decision. It was like I was doing what the crowd was doing. Like I wanted to fit in, I guess. And I always knew I wanted to do something more with myself. Like I always knew there was like bigger things out there for me, but it was no plan towards it. It was just like, I'm gonna be great one day, or I'm gonna be a boss or have my own business one day. And it was thoughts, but it was never any actions or anything to take me closer to it. It was just thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for you, like being out and doing all this stuff, like what did that look like after you dropped out of school? What was your mom's reaction and like your family and all that?
So my older sister had dropped out. She was out of the house by the time she was 16. I'm the second oldest, so I ended up dropping out. It could have been, and I don't know if this is true, but she could have just chalked it up like, all right, them two, I got these other six to worry about and work on. They're being defiant. It's hard. Like I'm sure it's hard raising one kid. I don't have any kids, but I'm sure it's hard raising one or two kids. I can't imagine eight of them.
Yeah,
Um,
that's for
and
sure.
especially like that was my mom's normal. My mom didn't go to college. She didn't finish school. Her sisters and brothers didn't finish school. So it was like that was the normal. So it wasn't like anything out of the ordinary of me dropping out of school. It would have
Oh,
been out of the ordinary of me going to college.
yeah, it would have been the opposite.
Right.
Well, I mean, what about your father? You said your father wasn't really in the picture much, so what was the
Yeah. So
situation?
excuse me. So my dad left when I was like 1 years old. Me and my sister have the same father. He left when I was about 1 years old. She was three. And then my mom had gotten another relationship where she's with the father of my three other siblings, and he ended up passing away early when I was say 7, 6 maybe. I had a don't remember too much of him, but we did have a relationship. But after that, it was I'm the man of the house. Any other guy that comes in here, they can't tell me what to do. My other father didn't reach out. My real father never reached out to me or really cared. I got a good relationship with my grandmother and his sister, but not him. Not that I have a bad one. I just don't have any relationship with him.
He just wasn't really wanting to be active father or nothing like that.
Yeah, he ended up moving to Florida when I was real young. So
Oh, okay. So he wasn't really in the picture, and especially when you're. I mean, how did that make you feel? Like I suppose, like knowing that your father didn't really want to be around you at that young age.
what? I didn't like him. I didn't know him, but I didn't like that because I know, like, growing up, I was like, how can you, not be involved in your child's life? But what it did to me, like internally, I think, was it gave me like an attitude of I don't need any other man in my life. I don't need a guy telling me what to do. I'm gonna be that guy. And like I'm the oldest boy, so it's like I took on that responsibility as being like the father role for them. And although I didn't have the best advice or guidance, it was that protector that I like, that protective figure that I wanted to be. So that's like when I gotta get tough, I gotta be tough now.
Well, after you had left high school, then what did you end up going to do? Like, what was
So
your activities?
after high school, I had jobs here and there, just because I was hustling, and the job was just like, okay, I'll get up and work. But it was like, all right, I'll work for a month, and then I don't really need to, or I gotta, I don't get along with this employee, or this boss isn't valuing me, and I don't need to be here anyway. So as I got in jobs, I was delivering pizza, I was doing masonry work, I was working with a buddy's dad. Nothing like ever. I never had a job on the books. I never had a pay stub before. Even till this day, I never did.
Damn, man, that's
Um,
insane.
Yeah.
But
Um,
I'll go ahead.
but yeah, I was job to job, girl to girl, house to house, and just going to the bars. Like I said, hustling and living that type of lifestyle of no real structure.
So it was just constant madness, you'd say.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Well,
And like if there isn't madness, it's like you kind of like subconsciously try to find it to get some type of excitement in your life because like when you sit on the couch. So you
yeah,
kind of like create like something for yourself to do.
yeah.
And it's so accessible in the city too.
Well, so you ended up becoming like a drug dealer of some sort.
Some sort, yeah, petty drug dealer, I guess you can say.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was stuff in between before the night that you had, gotten to that shootout. But I mean, like, what did you say would
So it wasn't a
happen?
shoot
Well, it
it
was you
wasn't a
got shot,
shootout.
right?
I got shot. So I'm with my brother. He's gonna go make a transaction, whatnot. So I go with him. He needed a ride, so I want to be there with him. We go to this place. He makes whatever transaction. The guy comes out. He's like, if you follow me, I'm gonna shoot you. And at the time, didn't believe he had a gun on him. I didn't see no gun. So he starts like power walking, and I start chasing behind him. And he's like, I told you, I'm gonna shoot you. And now he's starting to run a little bit more. And I'm like, oh, he don't even got a gun. So I start to run. Then he did turn around and shot me in the hip.
Jeez, man. So when you were just trying to get back what he had took from your brother, then?
Correct. Yeah.
Damn, and so, like, he just gave you all these warnings, so and then you just didn't believe him, man, shit,
Yeah.
so, I mean, when
Yeah.
you had to been in shocked when you just heard that.
Um,
Gee,
yeah, I heard the bang and I fell, and that's how I know I got hit. I couldn't stand back up on my leg, and just waiting for an ambulance to come. An ambulance never came. They took me to the closest hospital, which didn't have a trauma unit, and then they put me back into an ambulance, and then took me to Temple, which is our like the biggest trauma hospital in the city.
jeez, man, so what was
Yeah.
going through your head during that time? Like, what were you thinking, and how were you feeling?
I,
Of course, in
I
pain.
just, yeah, it wasn't even painful. It was like more shock and adrenaline. I remember just being in the back of the car and they're blowing the red lights, and all I just see is like just red lights going by my head. And I'm like, all right, I just need to get this patched up. Like, I need to get this bullet out and get it sewn back up, and I'll be fine. I wake up in the hospital like 2 days later. I had 7 surgeries, a colostomy bag, nerve damage in my left leg. I had drop foot. And I couldn't walk for quite some time. And I'm like, wow, over one shot, like my stomach's opened up. I have like an incision on my stomach. I'm shitting in a bag, and I'm like, damn, off of one shot. Like, yeah. So it hit a main artery in my left leg, and it hit my intestine as well. So it took me probably 3 months to walk again, 2 to 3 months. And then 6 months later, I'm getting the colostomy bag reversed, and I got rid of the bag, and it was like I didn't even learn my lesson, and it was like back to business as usual.
No,
Kind of like
they
a badge of honor that like in the streets is like, oh, he got shot, he's cool. That's how I thought at the time. That's how messed up my head was.
damn, man. Well, what kind of, was vengeance on your mind or anything at that point?
So I didn't know the guy, neither did my brother. He ended up getting locked up for a separate case for a rape and a murder. So it was like
Yeah, he
he
ain't getting
got
out.
yeah, he's done.
Yeah, so, I mean, that
In the same
that
in the same in the same property too. He raped
really.
someone and killed someone. Yeah, it's crazy.
Jeez, man. So he wasn't like a sketchy guy on the street for sure. He didn't really care about, you know,
Yeah, he wasn't
shooting
even from
someone.
this. He wasn't even from the city. He was from like Jersey or something, and he was
Damn.
coming over here to do his shit, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I suppose crime always catches up with someone, man. It always does, finds its
Yeah.
way. But so, I mean, after that, like, you just went back out and you kind of got on the street. So you said it was like a badge of honor. So like, what were people doing, or how kind of what was like the respect that you were getting from people?
It wasn't like really respect. It was like people would just like look at you a little different, I guess. You have the people that are doing the same things you're doing are looking at you like, with like a little more, not gonna say pride, but like they're like, oh, he made it through, like, he's a warrior, he's a soldier.
Hmm.
Um, and then you got people that are not in the streets are looking at you like this piece of shit should have died. Like he got what he deserved. Like people would have thought that, which is understandable, I guess. But you know, it, I really didn't allow people's like opinions to like stop what I was doing because I was still involved in the same bullshit. Like it really didn't alter like what I was doing.
What was, I guess I should get into this. Like, what was your family and like your? I'm sure you had real friends that you grew up with that didn't go down the street life. I mean, what was everyone's thoughts on this when you got shot and just continued to go down this path?
Everyone was still supportive. They it's kind of, I'm not gonna say normal, but it happens more than you probably think in the city of, people getting shot. Actually, a kid just got shot around here a couple months ago. But it happens. Yeah, it happens. And I even like my family that were more straight and narrow, that they supported me, they cared. My close family did, my friends did, other friends that I grew up with that weren't involved in the streets or anything, they were supportive. So it was like, at that time, that was the perfect cue to, all right, let me gravitate towards the right people. Let me start making better decisions. Let me put my life on a different trajectory. But it didn't even click then. It didn't.
Yeah. Well, what did you end up doing between time that you could kind of talk about, like, or expand on, like between after getting shot and before getting arrested?
So I ended up still doing the same shit as far as, hustling, fighting, going out to the bars, dealing with multiple women. And I ended up catching an assault case for beating someone with a bat. I ended up with a DUI right before the shooting. And what else? A couple other cases that got thrown out. So it was like now I'm like a petty criminal with a gunshot wound and um just doing the same stuff though, really nothing. Like I didn't get. I want to say I got like worse as far as like violence or more money or anything like that, and I didn't get better at all. So it was just like it really didn't change anything like to my day to day life. So bringing up into the incident of when I ended up getting arrested, like I was getting into bar fights. Dealing with multiple girls and guys are getting jealous and people are talking to girls I'm talking to, I'm getting jealous and a couple fights ended up resorting into the night of the crime, which was I ran into a guy that I had a previous altercation with. He ended up seeing me as I'm walking up the steps. He comes walking down. He swung at me. Now, mind you, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm really really drunk at that point. He we started tussling outside. I had some friends there with me. He had some friends with him, and it was like a big free for all. Um, I had stumbled upon a knife. I don't know where I got it from, but ended up stabbing him. And as when I realized I did, I said, "Oh shit, I got to get out of here." I run away, and I see one of my friends fighting one of his friends. I stabbed him as well, and I fled off. And then didn't hear anything for like 3 to 5 days, and went back to Philadelphia because I went to Jersey for a little bit. Went back to Philadelphia, and he ended up pressing charges, or the state picked it up, something like that. They came to my house and took me for questioning, supposedly. Didn't get questioned, and they charged me for attempted murder and aggravated assault with two different people.
Damn, man. So like it just all happened so quick, and during that's all it took, man. You guys were drunk as well, so I mean, did you even really have any memory of any of it, like going down like that, or would your friends tell you, or what was going on?
I do have some memory of it. Because I really don't think like you can forget something like that. Like, I it's not like straight. I just remember bits and pieces. I don't remember the whole entire night. Obviously, I was drunk, but like the big stuff I do kind of remember, like him trying to swing at me because in my head I'm already justifying it. Well, he tried to attack me first. So, but I do remember that. I remember I didn't go out with a weapon on me that night. I didn't carry weapons at that time. So I didn't know where that came from. And I remember, running off because I see my friend getting attacked by one of his friends. I, used it on him as well. And so I remember a couple key points to that night.
Okay. And like after you left the scene, then where did you left and you went to a different town and then you came back?
Yeah.
What made you come back?
So I went to my sister lived in New Jersey. I went to New Jersey for a little bit. Um, what made me come back was I had traffic court in Jersey for a ticket anyway within that
Oh,
like 5-day span. When I went into Jersey and I went to court and they gave me like a ticket or a fine, I said if I was wanted for stabbing somebody, I would think they would have stopped me right here if I had a warrant. So
mhm.
that I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm safe to go back. Like I didn't think they pressed charges. So when I went back, I guess like they were waiting for the day I went back was the day that the subpoena got dropped and the warrant got dropped. So
Um,
it,
that's
it,
exactly.
yeah. So I mean, everything happens for a reason. Luckily, I got it over with and didn't go on a run for months or years because everything would have changed if I did. So
Yeah, it could have been a whole different situation, man. Being out
yeah.
and on the run, but so like when when they busted you or arrested you, like how'd it go down? How did they catch you?
They came to my house. Uh, they knocked on the door. I peeked out. It was the cops. I told my cousin was there. I told him like, "Hey, I'm probably getting arrested. They're here, so there's no other reason they could be here." I went to I went down to what is it? Not the sheriff. I went to the
Deputy's
detective's
office?
office.
Yeah,
What?
deputy's office, detective
Yeah,
office.
detectives. Yeah, I went to the detective's office
Um,
and anticipate getting questioned because that's what the cops said when they put the cuffs on me. We'll just take you to have a question. Here, I didn't talk to anybody. They just put me in a holding tank, charged me, and when I seen a judge on like the screen. They said they told me my case, the crime, the drawing blanks. I'm sorry. They told me my case, my charges, and my bail.
so when they told you the bail, how much was that?
The bail was 250,000.
Damn. Then what
Uh,
about? Oh, go ahead.
and here I'm thinking I'm charged with aggravated assault on. So they did charge me with aggravated assault on one person. The other person they charged me with attempted murder.
So what were you thinking? How much? Like when they told you those charges?
Um, at that time, I didn't know what to think. Honestly, I was you know, I'm trying to think in my head like how injured were they that they said I tried to kill somebody. Like that was never my intentions. I didn't attempt to murder anybody. Obviously, if he would have died, I would have been charged with murder. But my intentions the whole time wasn't to murder anyone, injure someone, yes, but to murder someone, no. Um, but regardless, now I'm here. I'm in a situation, and I know the next steps would be going to court, trying to make bail, which I had to detain her from that previous assault that I had. So I had to detain her. I couldn't make bail. And now I got to sit here and wait for a preliminary hearing and wait to take it to trial.
Before you went to trial, how much time were you thinking you were going to get? Like just with being in the dark about this whole
So you
system.
got when you're in there, you got a lot of jailhouse lawyers. Everyone's like, you're getting a 5 to 10, you're getting a 2 to 4, you're getting a 10 to 20. If you lose it and you go, you try to fight it and you lose it and don't take a deal, you're getting 20 to 40. So the deal they offered me was a 6 to 20. That was the lowest deal that I got since the whole time I was there was 6 years on the front, 20 on the back, which I didn't take it. My lawyer said we're not taking this deal. We're taking it to trial. Let the judge hear it out.
Okay, and like when you were going to actual trial with it, with the plea deal off the table, was it just like, okay, if you're going to trial, this plea deal, it's a race. You lose trial, you're going for the maximum time.
Yeah, so if you go in Pennsylvania, if you go jury trial, they can sentence you the maximum sentence with everything running consecutive. As far as like if you get a 5 to 10, they'll run it like that, one after another instead of like consolidating it. Um, so that was on my mind. I was fighting the case for 2 years in the county.
Jeez.
People not coming to court, getting postponed. My lawyer wasn't ready. So, at the time of having over 2 years in, I'm like, can we get a deal? Like I'm talking to my lawyer, like, can we get a deal? And he said, I think we should just go head up with the judge. He said, regardless, we're not going to get what they're trying to offer you anyway. They're not trying to come down to anything less than a 6 to 20. So, I lost, and the day that I lost, I seen another guy that was there around the same time that I first arrived 2 years ago. He had one stab, and they offered him a 3 to 10. I had two stabbings. They offered me a 6 to 20. Right. So he lost head up with the judge. I went head up with the judge and lost. He just got sentenced though, and I just lost. So I'm like, what happened? He's like, I went head up with the judge. I lost. He had 2 years in, and he should have took that 3 to 10 out. He's looking at it. The judge gave him a 10 to 20
Hmm.
for one. So
Damn.
I'm like, so after that, I'm in my head like I'm screwed. My
Yeah.
lawyer said my lawyer. So when you lose, you got to come back to get sentenced. So, when I lost, my lawyer said, he didn't say it's fine. He's like, we still got to get sentenced. He's like, I'm going to push for a 2 to 4. And I had 2 years in. I said, all right, we could try it. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking I'm getting like 10 to 20 or at best 7.5 to 15 because
Jeez.
this guy just, every case is different. Every judge is different. Every case, it can go either way. But I'm just preparing for the worst at that point.
So you're already grooming your mind, preparing your mind just to really accept the fact that you're going to be there for a while.
Yeah, yeah. 2 years in, and I'm like, 5 to 10 would be great. If it's a 7.5 to 15 or a 10 to 20, I have to accept it. Uh, so yeah.
Well, how did it go at sentencing?
So sentencing, I made sure that I told all my family to come, all my friends to come. The judge lets you speak. I showed remorse because I was genuinely sorry that I put my family through it, and also injuring somebody and hurting somebody. Like that's not, at the time it was my intentions, but like looking back, it's not something that I'm proud of or wanted to do. Um, so I spoke on that, apologized, and just she gave me like 10 minutes to talk. Spoke my family. I think she like let my family talk a little bit, and then you go back into the chamber. Now your lawyer gets to make an argument. The DA gets to make an argument for why you shouldn't get, why you should get more time. And the lawyer was, he told me, he's like, I was pushing for a 2 to 4. The DA was pushing for a 10 to 20, and we got sentenced. When I got sentenced, she starts reading all my charges off and giving me a time for each charge. So the largest number in years of the charges was 4.5 to 9, and then like a 2 to 4, 2 to 4, 1 to 2. So that was one case. And then she read the same numbers off for the second case because both of the cases were the same incident. So here this is like the ultimate decision. Like, is she going to run this concurrent or consecutive? If we get it consecutive, it's one after another. So it's 4.5 to 9, and then 4.5 to 9, which would be 9.5 to 18. If we run a concurrent, it'll be both of their times put together, and it'll only be 4.5 to 9. Thank God she ran a concurrent. I did both cases, time running together, and I had the 4.5 to 9, and then I had to come back and see my back judge, and he gave me a 1 to 2 on top of it. That was consecutive, so it was 4.5 to 9 plus the 1 to 2, which was he gave me a 5.5 to 11 year sentence.
Damn. So that were you pretty grateful for that, or were you pretty upset?
The 4.5 to 9, I probably did a backflip in myself because I had over 2 years in. I'm like, I did 2 years here in the county where it's rough at, where you don't have programs, you don't have a television in your cell, you don't have food, you don't get on the phones like that. I could do 2 years upstate, that's not a
Mm.
problem. Then, I ended up coming back like a week later to go to court. They gave me the 1 to 2 on top of it. And you know what? Like, they gave me a chance when I was on probation. I violated probation. It was my fault. Like, that's when like the accountability thing started taking, and like I'm like, I put myself in this position. It could be 10 times worse. I'm just grateful that I have an opportunity to get back to my family soon because could have turned out a lot worse for me.
That was prior, that 1 to 2 years that you got was just when you're out on the street and you broke your probation violations and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I mean, that's I'm glad you realized the whole accountability thing, and so then when you were in there, that's when it really hit that you understood that you were there for a reason, like, you did some crimes, and it wasn't just like, it wasn't like they were picking on you or nothing, you know what I mean? But you, like, realized, like, you messed up.
Well, some people blame the system, some people blame their victims, some people blame their family. Um, some people they make justifications and rationalize everything. And for me, it was just like, if I didn't do these things, I wouldn't be here. That's
Right.
it. So don't do these things, and you won't be in the position you're in. Mind you, stuff's going to happen regardless. It's out of your control. But 9 times out of 10, if you're involved in shit, you're going to get shit. You play with fire, you get burnt. So,
That's true. Well, after they sentenced you, how long did it take them to get you to an actual prison?
so you go to like a holding jail, which is like a prison. It's close to the county. They process you there. Now you're a state inmate. Then you go to another prison, and that's like your classification prison. That's where they're doing like a mental evaluation, physical evaluation. They're they try to split you up. There's like 29 state prisons in Pennsylvania. So what they try to do is like they try to proportion white people, blacks, Latinos, um, drug cases, violent cases, pedophiles. They try to do it so it's like this jail isn't overloaded with people that got life. This jail doesn't have all white people and now it's a riot breaking out. Like, they try to proportion the jails. Um, I ended up going to I don't know why either. I went to one of the maximum securities in the state, maybe because that's where the space was at, or maybe because I had a violent crime and I had to go there. But I went to it was called SCI Forest, and it was like a newer jail, and it was pretty locked down up there in comparison to like some of the older jails where it's like more free. Like your cells aren't always locked. You can go up and down different blocks. Like this is like more structured and uh, it's kind of like a lockdown. It's like a college campus lockdown.
Well, I mean, were you there your entire prison sentence after that point?
Yeah, so I finished my time there. The rest of I got there, I had like 3 years left by the time I got there.
How was it like when you were there? I mean, it was just a super max. Was there a lot of bad stuff going on in there?
So I tell people all the time, prison is like, for me, and I guess Pennsylvania, it's whatever you want there still. If you want drugs, if you want violence, if you want gambling, if you want to get your mind right, you want to work out, you want to go to the gym, if you want to try to fight your case, law library, gambling, card games, chess, it's whatever you want to get involved in is there for you. You want the dumb shit's there. You want to, get your mental and physical right, that's there too. Education, they have education buildings, they have, stuff that you can utilize, which isn't the best. Like it isn't like you're not going to Harvard, right? It's
Right.
you take advantage of what they have. And for me, I was like a low timer. Like I didn't have too much time. You got people there with 30 years life, 20 years, 15 years. My cellie had 27 years, one of my cellies. So, and he was around my age. So you kind of, find out what your routine is in there. And like for me, I knew that I had 3 years. So I wanted to utilize that 3 years, stay away from bullshit, be around like, positive people. Um, and entertain myself a little bit. Would entertain, I mean, like I would watch sports, or I would play chess or play cards, and not do too much of the entertaining and more of like the learning and growing and planning for my release.
That's good. You stayed away from the drama and the BS that could have brought you down.
Yeah, because drugs and gambling in there is huge. That's like two big things, and there's like gang stuff too. It's like I guess it doesn't cause you to mature once you get in there, but I really feel like you should try to start becoming more mature in there, because if you get caught, it's like you're going to be what, 40, 50 years old, and you're still like in drama and gangs. And for me, it's like that's what really opened my eyes to, like, I see grown men. I went in there when I was 25. I seen grown men in their like 40s in gangs and stuff, and I'm like 50s even, and I'm like, what, you don't want nothing for your life? You don't want to, like, this is like it for you? This is all you want to do with yourself? I don't know. It was like a turn off for me to see grown men acting like that, and I was like, yeah, I don't want this for the rest of my life.
See, that's what really a lot of people that I've interviewed in the past too. It's like once you actually get to prison, you be around certain people. It's like you start yourself being in there with these guys that are in there for other crimes and other bad stuff. It's like they like, damn, I'm really locked up with these people. I must be just as bad as these people. I must be, like you just start thinking like that. And it sounds like you were having these thoughts with seeing older gangsters and stuff like that. But was this really like where you were starting to change your mind and wanting to better yourself?
Yeah. So I seen like people come in and they, like, this is their second, third, fourth time in prison. And I said, how after one time are you allowing yourself to come back here? And then I learned, like, these people, first off, don't know any better. It's just like habits and routines, and second off, they don't like have a plan. They're not so they go back home, I'm assuming, or they're in there and they're doing the same shit they were doing out here. And it's just like a circle and a cycle of, so I knew I had to break that cycle. And it started, I read a couple books and I'm like, my thinking, and they have some programs there too, thinking for a change and violence prevention and a couple other programs. And I really started to look inside of myself in the way I think, and had to make the decision like, okay, if I want to do different, I have to think different, which is going to cause me to act different and behave different, which should give me different results. So I just went on like a self-help personal development journey in there, as far as like, it started off with being disciplined to working out. Then it's, when I do get money sent in for commissary, I'm going to try to save some of it. And then I went to, I can't make any actions while I'm in here that's going to take my life besides learning. Like, I can't go buy a house yet, but I can learn about real estate. I can learn about credit. I can learn about finances. I can learn about the economy. And it just went down this rabbit hole of like learning about all this different stuff that I didn't know. Took my masonry certification. I took advantage of all the programs they had. Got my diploma in there. Um, Money Sense, Money Smart, credit stuff, uh, OSHA flaggers courses. What else? Yeah, I did a lot. Probably had like 19 certificates by the time I got out of there.
That's awesome, man. That is really cool. I see you really used your time to just better yourself and really try to make yourself prepared for when you come out and be educated so that you could come out and do whatever you wanted like that. But I mean, during that, was there people trying to hold you back or any temptations during that while you're in prison like that, or did people leave you alone?
Um, People kind of leave you alone. Uh, if you're like not involved in this shit, they really don't try to pull you in. They had no reason to pull me into it, and I surrounded myself with good people in there. That I still talk to this day. That, they might have had a lot of time. They made one bad decision, and they got 20 years, life, 30 years, 15 years, and even though they made that one decision, like I feel like I can like evaluate and read people pretty good. And their energy came off and how genuine they are. And like they wouldn't let me, even though I wouldn't anyway, they still wouldn't let me get into no bullshit. They're like, nah, Frank, you got a good head on your shoulders. You're going home. Like, you got all these plans. You're in here studying. Like, you know, we're going to keep you away from the bullshit. Anyone tries to come at you, we got you. So I surrounded myself with good people with good intentions. And you probably don't believe that it's possible from out here that there are people like that in there, but there definitely is. And I still talk to some this day.
Hmm. Wow. Well, that's good that you had someone to watch your back or keep you on some kind of safe level to where you even I'm sure like they probably calmed you down too from trying to get maybe if you were tempted or anything like that like they would probably say, hey man, just chill out, we're gonna get you out and you're gonna just get out of here and be good, man. Like that's good that you have people in your corner like that, especially in prison, because I'm sure there's not many around. Like you said, there's gangs and drugs and gambling and all this stuff going on, like all these distractions, all this stuff. Like for you to be that disciplined in there, I mean that's a big
Yeah.
deal, man. It's a really big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I had to be. I just couldn't. I was so mad at myself for allowing myself to get in that position. Like I was like, someone wouldn't answer the phone, or someone said they're going to send a JPay, which is send money, and they didn't, or someone's I wrote them 3 times, they didn't write me back, and I'm, like, getting mad at these people, and I'm like, "What's my fault? Like, what am I so mad at them for? I put myself in here. I wouldn't have to rely on them if I didn't do what I did." So it came down to, like, taking extreme accountability and, knowing I had to make different decisions for myself, and the only person I could be mad at is myself, and so that means I had to change. I mean, I had to, like, really do some deep internal work and because it wasn't just a crime that got me in there. It was my mindset that got me in there. It was like if that crime, they didn't show up in court and it got thrown out, who knows if I would have did something else. So it was, and all the stuff that I did do and never got in trouble for. So it wasn't just like that one crime. It was the person that I was at that time.
That's a great way to explain it, really, man, because it is definitely a mindset thing that if it wasn't that, it could have been something completely different, could have been something way worse. But you were able to unfortunately have to go through that and be a part of that. But I mean, like, how do you feel about that now? Like having to go through that? Like, do you think you needed to go through that to really change?
I feel like people change when they just can't deal with the person that they are. And for some reason, I was able to deal with the person that I was before I was at my lowest point. I was able to find external things to bring me fulfillment and happiness, as far as whether it's drugs, alcohol, women, gambling, all food, whatever it was, weed. And I hit rock bottom. To me, that was my rock bottom. To some people, that's not rock bottom for them. Maybe they have someone that still supports them and they lose them, and then that's rock bottom. They lose a parent, they lose a sibling, a child. Um, but for me, I hit my rock bottom, and there was no other choice but to try to get better. And like, not just because you can do it and make it look good, like, right? But you're really still fucked up inside. Like, you're not doing anything, but doing anything bad or illegal, but like, you're still a shitty person. You're still not disciplined. You're still not, picking up extra hours at your job. You're still not doing more than just getting by. Because if you just do what's required of you, that's still not enough, because the society sets you up to just do the bare minimum and get by. And that's like good. Like, oh, he's, especially in Philadelphia, especially in the inner cities. If you're just doing, like, you're working a regular job, you're not going out getting drunk, you're staying home with your family and not getting involved in bullshit, like, that's good. That's great. They set the bar so low. So I knew for me, like, okay, I can't just like, and which I did, I came home and worked a regular job, but I can't just like do what's required of me. I need to do more than they want me to do.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Like, to want to be more than just the bare minimum. But I'm sure, like, for people that had, like, for you growing up, like, you didn't have your father, so just for you doing the bare minimum, that's you doing good. Like, because if you say you had a family and you were staying out of crime and doing what you're doing now, that's good. But like, now you want to do above and beyond and do great, and that's good, man. Like, that's why I think that there is that bare minimum of, like, okay, you're doing good. Like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's just because, like, statistics, right?
Right.
If you're going off of statistics, it's going to say that 75% that get released end up coming back in the first 3 to 5 years. Like, that's just like the statistical number. So anyone that doesn't do that is successful to them. It don't matter if they're just working at McDonald's. It don't matter if they don't even have their driver's license. It don't matter if they got zero money in the bank account. You didn't go back to prison. You're a success story. And I knew for me, like, that's the bar is really low. Like, I'm not setting my bar that low. See, I raise my standards with everything that I do, because now if I go up at the standards that someone else is saying, then that's cool for them. People think that I and I do okay for myself. People think like, oh, you got money. I'm like, I don't have money, because if Donald Trump woke up with my money, he would probably commit suicide. So like I'm not comparing myself to like to you I might have money or to some others I might have money. You have money compared to the guy that you're walking by on the street with a cup. Like, he's thinking you got money. You thinking I have money. I set my standard higher because if I don't, then I'm just going to be content with where I'm at. And me from going in there and then coming out, like I'm on this journey of pushing the limit and getting to my highest potential. So you can't ever get like caught up in where you're at. You enjoy it and you express gratitude and be grateful for where you're at. But for to be like super successful, it's like you always have to go to the next level. Well, what does that level look like? What's it going to require me to do? And what do I have to let go of now to go there? Because to go up, you're going to always have to let something go.
That's true. No, I agree. Like that's good to set a to set up some goals, to set your ambitions higher, because if you don't, then it's going to be harder to grow. But yeah, it's good that you got out, you stay off the out of the crime element, but like you want to continue to grow and build up and make up for the time that you lost, and continue
Yeah.
to have a great life and enjoy what you're doing. What so when
Yeah.
when you did come out, what was it? What was it like? Because I know now you got your own business, but like in the between time, like what were you doing, and how rough was it for you?
Excuse me. So when I got out, I got released. I was living in my sister's basement. I didn't have a job. I was getting jobs off of Craigslist and working for friends here and there. One of my buddies reached out and said that his company's hiring full time. It's a painting company, so I started working there 5 days a week, and then the weekends I started picking up too. Weekends were overtime, and when I was working at when I wasn't working there, I was working at a hoagie shop delivering hoagies and food after hours of my regular job, and then on the weekends. So my when I was in there, I set goals up for myself to save up, as much money as possible. And then it's like, well, people are like, oh, I want to save money. Well, you have to actually have a plan. Everyone says they want to save money, but they don't have a budget or a plan to even save money. So I said, I'm going to save up all my paychecks from my regular job for a year. The money that I make from delivering is going to be for my food and gas and bills and stuff like that. And if I do want anything extra, I got to work harder. But I'm not breaking my habit of saving this paycheck every single week. I'm not tapping into it. I'm not going to sacrifice, you know, my future for anything that I need right now. So, I did that for 7 months, 8 months, and then the pandemic happened. The hoagie place shut down. Now I only had this regular job, and I was still working the weekends and all. Mind you, I'm still not touching the initial money. I got a raise, a couple of times since I was there, and I still didn't, touch it or tap into it. I ended up actually now I have some free time because I'm not working at the hoagie place delivering. I started picking up some side work as far as painting goes. I have a bunch of friends, and I'm just putting it out there. Hey, I'm painting on the side, and that ended up becoming more profitable for my time to go and do that than obviously working for somebody else. And the volume was coming to where I was like, all right, I can't do both of these anymore. Like I have to go all in on this vision that I had.
Yeah, man. That's dedication though, to really do that for that long, having multiple jobs and saving that every paycheck. Like that's a big deal. That's consistency, man. So that's cool that you were able to do that. And then as soon as the pandemic rolled around, man, you had this opportunity pop up, and all it took was you to lose that one job, and then be able to have some more free time to go and do the side painting, and then it just turns into something where it's much more profitable. Like, but we kind of fall into opportunity sometimes, and then it just leads into something way bigger than you anticipated, man. So that's cool. So where did it lead after you? Did you end up quitting this job, your
Yeah,
full time one?
Yeah, I put my 2 weeks in. My old boss is great. I actually stayed for 3 weeks to help him out. He taught me a lot. He taught me a lot about the trade. He taught me a lot about, you know, actual painting aspect. Um, I still keep in touch with him to this day. He actually just messaged me earlier. And it started like I have to hire people now because I can't do all this work by myself. We're getting by the boatload phone calls, different realtors, homeowners, investors, and I started a company, LLC, everything legitimate, and I brought some friends on that worked at different painting companies, and we just took off. Like we got a truck, we got another truck, we got a couple more guys, and it got to the point to where we got multiple 4 or 5 projects going on at once, and I'm like, really got to step back from painting. I couldn't paint anymore. I had to do more of like administrative stuff, emails, managing, networking, advertising, marketing. I had to get into more of like the business rather than the trade side of the company.
Damn, how was that transition for you?
So we talked about, to get leveling up and getting to the next level. So it required me to be somebody else. Like I wasn't the painter anymore. I wasn't the handyman anymore. I wasn't the crew leader anymore. I had to be a business owner. I had to do business owner things, which meant interviews, which meant hiring, firing, financial managing, marketing, networking, advertising, scheduling is tough when you got all these phone calls coming in. So yeah, it really required me to become a different person, and it's gonna. I worked my ass off as far as like I was still painting too, just to close out jobs, just to give the team a hand. Like, oh, I can't leave these guys hanging. But then I was burning myself out because while I'm working there with them, I still got 10 hours of work to do after work with going to look at jobs, sending out emails, getting back to customers, answering text messages, dropping off material. So, and I ended up having to leave the field full time, which I knew was eventually going to happen, but it happened, within like the first year and a half.
Yeah, man. Well, that's really cool. I mean, it just, yeah, you're right. It was just another leveling up and going on to the next stage. But it takes, a little bit of transitioning to get into it and understand like the full length of the job and everything. But that's really cool, man. I'm glad that you were able to grow this business into something that can really help you in your future, your family, whatever you may, have in the future, man. So that's really cool that you're able to run this operation, man, and go from what you were doing back before you were locked up in prison, and just being able to be a very, very cool motivational story, man. It's just like another success story that people need to hear. And I know you still got more to your story that you're going to continue to grow and do,
Yeah.
but that's awesome, man. I'm glad you're able to do that. So with that, like, what would you tell your younger self, man, if you could, that the night before that, the night of the, the what was it, attempted murder and assault? If you could tell yourself, tell them
Yeah.
something.
It will probably be first if it was like the night before that, it would probably be like nothing's worth not being able to pursue your future. Um, Nothing that's gonna like think before you act, first and foremost, like because we get caught up to like reacting, like we'll match someone's energy. If they're angry, we're gonna be angry. If they're hateful, we're gonna be hateful. If they're slandering us, we're gonna slander them. Um, but really, like, don't let anyone else's decisions persuade you into doing something that you don't want to do. That'll be for like the night before. If it was like just in general, like advice from, when I was younger to now, it would be come up with a plan and a vision for your future. Because like if you don't have one for yourself, society's going to have one for you.
That's true. That's good.
Yeah.
I like both of those, man. I think just you saying that can really, if someone ends up hearing it in the future, man, that'd be great. Like there's like this really gives, it's a mindset change, but it means a lot coming from someone that had your background and actually went through going in prison and coming out and really making a name for yourself, man. So that's cool. What do you do now? Like, because I know you're wanting to start doing a podcast as well. Like, what's the purpose
Yeah.
of it?
So with the podcast, um, it's the same thing. It's to give insight. So it's called the Streets to Success. Streets to Success. That basically it's to give insight and to show people possibilities of, regardless where you come from or your obstacles ahead of you or, your past, your traumas, that there is success available to you if you just put the work in and if you believe in yourself and if you do the right things. So it's basically, I'm going to be interviewing people and and me and my partner will be talking to each other about, like, just a mindset shift, or you know we come from where the cards are stacked against us and we feel like it's over. Like, there was a certain point to where it's like, I'm a product of my environment. This is just how it's going to be. I used to think like that, but really, that, like, everything's in your hands. You just have to be able to work with the cards that are dealt. So, it's just to bring some insight and some light on, like, the possibilities of becoming successful, even if you do have a rough upbringing, or if you are from the streets.
I like that. I like that whole idea, man. That's kind of what I'm doing, like with the whole
Yeah,
redemption story. So, I mean, that's pretty
yeah,
fitting, man. So, whenever you intend on dropping that, man, just let me know and I can share it to on my platform because I know it's not out yet,
awesome.
but I can
Yeah,
do my part and share it for you on the
yeah.
community.
We have a video shoot today, photo shoot, video shoot today for. I think we're going to start dropping in March at some point. March will be 10 years since I was incarcerated. So
Damn.
I got locked up in March of 2014. I feel like it's a good time to drop it. So
Yeah, I mean, a 10-year anniversary, might as well, man,
yeah,
being free.
yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking out some time, Frank, and coming on my show. Any final words?
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Love the name. Just invest in yourself. That's going to be your biggest investment, is in yourself. So yeah, I love the name of the podcast. I love what you're doing. And if anyone's listening, I would just, go on a journey of personal development and keep trying to get better, and surround yourself with positive people, and just keep thinking positive, and you'll get positive back.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Frank. Frank's life was completely changed after a night out at the bar. These wild things tend to happen more when people are drinking. It only takes a couple minutes to change your whole world. Frank learned that firsthand that night. He was able to change his life around though and build a brand, and now he is rocking and rolling with it. I hope you enjoyed today's interview with Frank. Please comment any key takeaways that you got from this interview. Please share it with anyone that you think will enjoy this type of content. Please subscribe to my channel because I got a lot more great interviews coming out. At the end of this video, a playlist will pop up of all the other interviews I've done in the past. So if you haven't seen them, all you got to do is just simply click that playlist and you can scroll through and check out all my interviews I've done. Thank you again so much for watching, and of course, we'll see you on the next one.